What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast. We are officially less than 1 week out from the start of the NFL regular season, and we are here to preview the coming games. Football is back in our lives. Football is back on our TV. Jimmy English, joined as usual by Stephen Kearns and Kevin Kelly. Lads, what's going on? What's the crack?
Well, you've said it. Football is literally on our doorstep. College season is underway. NFL is a week away. It is the time of year where you basically just plan your social interactions about what's happening on Saturday, Sunday, and Thursdays. And Mondays as well, if you're willing to stay up late enough.
Life is now just going to revolve around football until February. Kev, how are you? Have you recovered from the weekend and your general festivaling life over the past couple of months?
Yeah, finally starting to settle down a bit now. So getting ready. I was just walking down the street the other day and I was just like, oh, I can't wait for football. I just can't wait for it. So definitely an exciting week this week.
First question is, have we all recovered from the college football last weekend? Because I am still fairly wrecked after the couple of mental days that we had. But like, what an incredible atmosphere in the Viva Stadium. And we were all there, of course, in different roles. And what a fantastic finish. I mean, definitely one of the best college football games we have seen in Ireland in the past couple of years.
Yeah, still trying to get the energy back after that weekend. And, you know, Georgia Tech coming out and proving everybody wrong, like putting number 10 Florida State in its place last second, game-winning field goal. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be hard-pressed. I think Farmageddon next year might actually top it, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, obviously you guys had a couple of days before me with the gift games and everything like that. So you guys had been on the trot for a couple of days before I got into town. So he's definitely had a long stint of it.
So college football is officially underway, and there are some brilliant games for those who are such inclined this weekend. Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Clemson, Georgia, and USC and LSU. But we're not here to talk about college football. We're here to talk about the NFL. And the big news breaking today at the time of recording / last night in Ireland is Brandon Ayuk is returning to the 49ers. Massive contract, $120 million over 4 years, $76 million guaranteed. Kev, the saga has ended, and there's a resolution there. What are you thinking?
Yeah, finally, I wasn't sure which way this one was gonna go because it was just one of those situations where every move he made was being blown up into a story, and you're like, oh, is there unrest in the camp? But like it came down to the same thing as usual. He was gonna get paid, and he wasn't doing anything until that happened. So really, did we learn anything from this? I don't know. Other than the same thing happens over and over again. It's either you have a guy who's lippy and wants a bigger contract, and it usually doesn't get it, or somebody who stays quiet like Ayuk did and just was like, you just have to pay me or I'm going elsewhere. So
it's a bit disappointing, Twist, that he didn't end up with the Steelers. There was a point a couple of weeks ago where it seemed like it was on the verge of happening. You know, there was a deal in place between the Niners and our Steelers, but it just, I think after that kind of fizzled out a little bit and nothing happened, we kind of knew, didn't we, that this isn't going to happen. He's going to get paid by the Niners.
I've been in the camp of we weren't getting him for a long time. I know Omar Khan has been pulling loads of crazy moves and making some good signings and stuff, but once it came out that the deal wasn't just going to be straight between Steelers and 49ers, there was going to be Steelers with the Broncos and the 49ers in a three-way trade, and the 49ers wanted a top talented receiver in return, as well as picks. You know, they even dangled the idea of getting Cortland Sutton from the Broncos. Once like all that tangled mess happened, it definitely was going to happen. And as Kev said, Ayuk just sat there and waited. Mm-hmm. He got his contract. He's getting $30 million per year on the 4-year contract. He's the fifth highest paid wide receiver. He's getting the same per annum as Tyreek Hill is getting currently, $30 million per year. The highest, as Kev should know, is JJ, who's 35. And it will then bring us into number 2, which is CeeDee Lamb. He's getting 34 per year on his new contract with the Cowboys.
Yeah, it
So
leaves
it just
Jamar Chase now, who ultimately is gonna try and make some sort of bid and say, well, I'm above all of these,
mhm.
when realistically 35 million is a crazy salary for any player. Never mind wide receivers. Like, that's just mad money. And to think that you might be looking towards the 36s, 37s is crazier.
As a
But that,
Steelers fan, I'm happy for the Bengals to overspend on Jamar Chase. Tie up that salary cap, put it all in his lap. He does deserve big money. He does deserve money equal to Justin Jefferson. But if you want to give him more, by all means, give him more. But he has the yardstick now. He's looking at CD Lamb and he's looking at Brandon Ayuk, and he's like, I'm better than them too. Give me more.
it's just like the market just keeps resetting every time one of these receivers wants a new contract, or one of these kind of skill positions wants a new contract. I mean, where does it stop? And we're just seeing a trend now of holdouts and hold-ins. I mean, look at Jamar Chase as a prime example, as is Brandon Ayuk. I mean, they just did nothing. They just refused to budge. I said, I'm not doing a thing until you pay me. So it's becoming a real problem for teams, and it's a really interesting trend, because as soon as these receivers are up for new contracts, they know the playbook now, and it's just hold your team at ransom until you get paid, basically.
Yep, that's the way to do it. And I mean, the big one at the moment that's still outlying is CD Lamb got his payday. That's fine. Dak Prescott is sitting there asking for his big payday from Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones isn't great for signing big guys, throwing money around since he got burnt by Zeke's contract in 2019.
Mm.
He was back with the Cowboys, and they're still paying his dead money, even though he's back with the Cowboys. Um, and I think with Jerry Jones, he is enamored. He's in love with Trey Lance, who's backing up Dak Prescott.
God knows
So
why.
I don't know, but he's been obsessed with him since he came in the league. The question is, does Jerry let Dak play out his final year, let him test the waters, and in his crazy world, does he let Dak walk and let Trey Lance take over because he's that obsessed, or does somebody with some common sense step in and go, Trey Lance isn't better than Prescott, give Prescott some money, like?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to put my hand up and admit that when Trey Lance was kind of coming out of college, I was like, oh, this is a fairly good looking quarterback, but he just hasn't been able to translate that college football skills into the NFL, really, has he?
No, well, to be fair, like, what chances what big chances has he got? Other than popping in and out for as a like a secondary quarterback. Like, he's just popping in every now and again. He's not getting a full 6 or 8 games to prove himself.
Hmm.
That's
But
definitely it. I could see that's why I was going to say
no,
that's
go
why
ahead.
I think like you might see Jerry Jones deciding to let Dak test that market next year, because as far as he might see something with Trey Lance that everyone else is missing, but he hasn't had a fair shake. But again, it's Jerry Jones. He does crazy things like back to Zeke's massive contract. Like, Zeke's dead money that he has now with the Cowboys is more than his current 1 year contract. So they're paying for him basically twice to be on the team.
That's just mental to even think about. But going back to Brandon Ayuk for a second, because I want to get your thoughts on this. Is it a scenario now where the 49ers find themselves in a little bit of a last dance situation, where this is the year, it's the last year of all their stars? If you think about it, they have the best offense in the NFL, without a doubt. And you look at all the players they have Christian McCaffrey, they have Deebo Samuel, they have George Kittle, they have Brock Purdy, who they got on an absolute steal, and he's going to have to get paid at some stage. Is it now? It's all they're putting, all their chips into the middle of the table, and they're going, right, we've extended Ayuk. How long? How long are we going to have all these star players? How long are we going to have them for? And is it now the time to make that push?
Yeah, I think I was actually just going to make that same point. Is that, like, I was surprised at the amount that I did get paid, considering how many other weapons are around him, right? So you obviously have McCaffrey, you have George Kittle,
Mm-hmm.
you have Deebo Samuel, you have all these absolute weapons, right? But like the other teams, like Minnesota, you don't have like them other guys to complement
No.
Justin Jefferson. So that's why he's getting 35 million. So that's why kind of the 30 million or the 34 million, it just like baffles me a little bit, because I'm like, you're paying all these other guys massive money and they're such massive targets. Like, was it necessary? Like, it obviously was necessary for him to stay, but I think in their certain situation, they definitely got ripped off.
Now, I definitely think it's a lot of teams are in an arms race with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs don't look at the last season. Kadarius Toney was doing everything he could to make the Chiefs lose games, dropping big balls, dropping guaranteed passes, guaranteed wins. And, him leaving the Chiefs has made the Chiefs a better team.
Mm-hmm.
So teams are stuck in this arms race. Everyone wants to beat the Chiefs, And I think with the 49ers, by throwing all this money at Ayuk, to keep him alongside to complement Debo, because Debo has injury issues. He's always hurt. He's always banged up. You need someone who's going to be able to take pressure off second and third string guys if Debo's out hurt. Take pressure off Kittle if Debo's out hurt. And Ayuk is that type of guy. He has the ability to get good yak. He has the ability to get touchdowns. He has the ability to get open. And this is definitely the 49ers going, we need a Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
we have a 4-year window max.
Mm-hmm. Twist, that provides us with a nice segue into the first game of the NFL regular season this year, which of course is an AFC Championship rematch between the Chiefs and the Niners next Thursday night.
Ravens. Ravens.
Chiefs. What did I say?
Niners.
Oh, I don't. It's Niners on the brain. Chiefs Ravens on Thursday night. That just kind of proves my next point, which is I won't be staying up because I'm clearly sleep deprived, as we can tell. But it's I think this one is one where they're too closely matched to call it. I think in terms of they're two of the best teams in the AFC, if not the two best teams in the AFC. You look at last year, how it came right down to the wire last year. In your mind, Twist, who has the advantage in this one in terms of the best chance of coming out the victor?
Chiefs, no doubt. I've a ton of respect to the Ravens, in the same division as the Steelers. Like, I love seeing the Steelers play the Ravens. They're always hard hitting. They're always playing to win. Lamar Jackson is an athlete. He is elite. He has the ability to come out big in games, except if you look at his record, if it's playoff, he struggles in the playoffs. And anytime you're playing the Chiefs, whether it's regular season or in the preseason, you have to treat every game as if it's a playoff game. This is a litmus test for the Ravens to see, do they have the ability to hang with the Chiefs? Mark Andrews is back practicing, which is good after his injury. That was the latest update from Ian Rappaport earlier today. If the Ravens can come out and they can actually get a rhythm going and keep it going,
they
absolutely can hang with the Chiefs. But I think the Chiefs will sneak away with it. Mahomes just magic. Magic all the way. They'll probably walk out of there, with a field goal, to win it. It might be closer than we think. But I don't think the Ravens currently have the ability to, knock the Chiefs off. I think the Chiefs are still the AFC team to beat.
Derrick Henry is going to be an interesting mix into the offense, Kevin, as well. I mean, the Ravens do have some weapons themselves. They have potentially the best tight end duo in the league, between Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, and they have the ground game as well. I suppose it's just a case of whether they can get it opened up or not.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just going to make that point. Obviously, adding Derrick Henry is you add that second, kind of stronger weapon in the backfield, where obviously Lamar can run himself, but he's not. He can still break straight through you, but he's not going to break a ton of tackles. We've seen Derrick Henry literally push boys out of the way, and that, adding that kind of element into the Ravens attacking piece there, it's gonna be interesting for sure. And the only thing I will say is, obviously, first game of the year is it's going to be really hard to kind of tell how all these teams are shaking out. So don't be surprised if you see maybe an upset. I wouldn't be surprised if I'd seen an upset and the Ravens going in and taking a win week one.
Twist, in terms of offensive weapons, obviously, Travis Kelce speaks for himself with his resume. Juju Smith-Schuster has re-signed with the Chiefs after being let go by the Patriots. He should provide an interesting dimension as well. What kind of, I mean, where did the Chiefs have the edge over the Ravens in that regard?
It all starts with Mahomes under center. If Mahomes is on the field, the Chiefs have the edge. Even a high-powered lockdown defense still is going to struggle to contain Mahomes. We've seen, in the practice, Mahomes was practicing like a behind-the-back throw, and then they went and done it during the preseason. And it's I think one of the Good Morning Football hosts said that Patrick Mahomes' passes are just like the intrusive thoughts that get into his mind. I wonder if I throw the ball like this, how will I complete? And some of his throws are like that. It's like, don't throw the ball like this way, and he throws it anyway. Like, he throws it behind his pass, he throws the no-look, he throws the sidearm. To stop a guy like Mahomes, it's much more difficult. Like traditional, like Tom Brady, great quarterback, one of the best of all time. Traditional drop back pocket passer, same as Peyton Manning. If you could get pressure on them, you could disrupt them. That was key there. But with Mahomes, you can get the pressure on him, but at the last second, he flings it out to the side to a receiver or a running back he didn't know was there. And an impossible throw. That's the main advantage that the Chiefs have, is if Mahomes is on the field, good luck stopping him. If you can stop him, then I think the Ravens can win. But there's a reason they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions going for, the three-peat.
So, Twist, it's fairly evident that the key to stopping the Chiefs is stopping Patrick Mahomes. If you can shut him down, you shut down the offense, and the team runs through him. So it's a case of taking him away, taking away his running lanes, taking away his throwing lanes, and basically working to confound him. And that's the answer to shutting down the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, it's basic, but there's a reason they've won back-to-back Super Bowls, and they're going, as I said previously, for the three-peat. It's a basic, shut the quarterback down, but he's hard to shut down. Even with the basic weapons he has, he's hard to shut down.
It's a lot
we'll
easier
see
said
when
than done,
the
really,
Ravens
isn't it? Sure,
and the Chiefs
stop
face
Mahomes
off.
like nothing to it.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out.
Final predictions for Ravens Chiefs, Kev.
I'm gonna go slight win again or slight loss for the Chiefs first week of the year. I think it's going back to Baltimore, win by 3.
And I have the Chiefs win by. It's the Chiefs winning by 3. So me and Kev are on the opposite side, but same score.
Okay, so the Ravens Chiefs is, of course, but just the precursor to a full slate of NFL games taking place on Sunday, September 8th. Chief among them, for myself and Twist anyway, is the Steelers clash with the Falcons. A revenge game potentially for Arthur Smith, returning to Atlanta after being let go as the Falcons head coach. Twist, I'm excited for Steelers football, no matter how bad it was during the preseason. My enthusiasm remains the same. How are you feeling about it?
I don't want to get the preseason to have an effect on it, because last year we had Kenny Pickett show where he came out and he slung the ball around and everyone was like, Super Bowl, here we come. And then, he showed who he really was. Now we're seeing the opposite, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Not doing anything flashy, not doing anything too over the top, and losing all the preseason games. So, don't know where we stand offensively. Wide receiver core is not great. We've got George Pickens and the Three Stooges. Nothing against the other guys. I'll talk a bit more about the wide receivers in a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I'm neutral, to be honest. I'm excited Steelers football's back, but against the Falcons, I don't know. I'm assuming our defense should go out and cause issues for the Falcons, but our offense, that's the big question.
I think it's going to be a case again where the defense carries the offense for a large part of the season, up until the point if and when they do decide to bench Russell Wilson and go with Justin Fields, because I think Fields showed a lot more explosiveness when he did get reps during the preseason. So look, offense is just up in the air right now. It's a complete enigma with regards to how they're going to establish an identity there. Jalen Warren carrying that hamstring injury is a bit of concern. I'm not sure how I feel about Cordarrelle Patterson being our backup running back. I think he's past it a little bit, if I'm being honest. I am optimistic about the defense. I think our bulked up interior linebackers is going to be well able for Bijan Robinson, and covering Kyle Pitts as well. So look, I think in that regard we should be fairly okay.
Yeah, the defenses looks positive. But yeah, sorry, Kev, you were going to say?
No, I have a question for the two of you because I guess I haven't really asked you how either of you are feeling about Russell Wilson getting selected as starting quarterback, because I guess we haven't spoke about it really.
I think it was not expected. It was not unexpected. I think it was
Right.
very much. I mean, regardless of how well Justin Fields played in the preseason, it was always going to be Russell Wilson just because it's Russell Wilson, right? He's more of a resume than Justin Fields. He's a proven starter. He has a Super Bowl, and things mightn't have gone exactly to plan in Denver. But having said that, he's on a very, very short leash, and I think a couple of mistakes here and there, a couple of interceptions, and I think he'll be benched quite quickly, just based on. And of course, it's all preseason, right? Preseason doesn't count, but I think Justin Fields equally showed a lot of spark and a lot of connection, a great kind of relationship with the receivers as well. So there's a case to be made for either of them being the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with Wilson. I'm not too sure. I mean, he didn't do a bad job in Denver. There's that, infamous picture of him sitting on the sidelines and his wide receiver just staring through him like they want to stab him. And, I don't know if he's that type of, like, if he creates, like, friendships, relationships, connections with the receiving core quickly or easily. He is a bit of a character, a bit of an enigma. Like a lot of people in American sports, he's like big into his faith, and he brings that constantly, and he's always talking about that. And that's not going to fly with a lot of people. Some people just want to play football. So I don't know, but Jimmy did make a good point. Like, Justin Fields does seem to have a bit of a better connection with some of the guys, and he does have the wheels like Russell Wilson doesn't. We've seen in preseason, he doesn't have the ability to scramble the way he used to. So I mean, he is the starter. I'd look for, in week one, you're probably going to see a few different packages with Justin Fields out there instead to keep the guys guessing. But if Russell Wilson doesn't come out and be undefeated by the bye week, he's going to be benched.
So the enthusiasm is high, lads.
It's high for Steelers football. It's meh for Russell Wilson.
I'm so sick of Steelers football being middle of the road. Like, our defense almost broke their back last year carrying the offense, and it's just going to be. You know me, lads. I'm always optimistic, right? I always try and see the bright side about everything. I've tried to find so many positives here, but like, we've two absolutely met quarterbacks. Really, like I know I like Justin Fields. I think he's very, very talented, and I do think he wasn't given a fair shake in Chicago. I mean, they've basically drafted Justin Fields there again in the form of Caleb Williams. He's Justin Fields 2.0. He's the exact same skill set. He might have a better arm, but I think they've just tried to fix the problem up there by repeating the same thing. My concern, more so than quarterback, is our receiver core. I mean, the Steelers have fixed everything that was wrong. They fixed the interior. We drafted inside linebackers. We fixed our offensive line allegedly. It's receivers now. It's playmakers. Our running backs were fine at running back, but then it's George Pickens. It's 50 feet of crap, and then it's Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller, and I don't even know who else is on that roster right now. So that's what concerns me more than anything is playmakers.
Yeah, we went all in trying to get Brandon Ayuk, and we failed. Didn't get him, so now we're left with George Pickens. We've nothing. We've Calvin Austin, Connor Haywood. We've got
Calvin Austin.
Roman Wilson, who's
injured.
Van Jefferson. And I mean, if you look at the available free agents, like I just had a quick look, the top 3 wide receiver free agents that are out there at the moment that haven't been picked up are, Tony from the Chiefs. He has issues with drops. Michael Thomas, former Saints, he's 31 years old though. You know, look, we done that with Alan Robinson. We picked him up. He was an old veteran. He did nothing for us.
No.
And Hunter Renfro is still out there. He didn't have a great past couple of seasons with the Raiders. Now, in fairness, Duck was throwing the ball to him. He didn't have quite great quarterback play. But he's still out there. He hasn't been picked up. He's a great slot option. He's an improvement over Calvin Austin. Nothing against Calvin Austin, but he would be an improvement over him in that position. There's got to be something else wrong as to why no one has picked him and why he's still available. But they're the only three options at the moment, you know. So I think Omar Khan's backup plan for Brandon Ayuk is to let backups play.
I mean, I definitely was a fan of Hunter Renfro when he was at Clemson. He was one of Clemson's best receivers in recent years. But then again, Twist, you're right. It does beg the question if he hasn't been picked up. I mean, he didn't have a great time with the Raiders. What's the issue there?
It's nothing injury I can find, nothing personal I can find. I don't think he got along well with the Raiders interim coaches like Antonio Pierce and whatnot. While after Gruden left, he was in a bit of a doghouse after that, and then he got cut. You know, it wasn't injury designation. It wasn't anything like that. He only had like 300 yards. He wasn't great. Well, he wasn't great. He wasn't used by the Raiders the way he should have been. So there's obviously something out there. I don't know whether he's been blacklisted by the league or not, but he's still free and available. And out of the three, I'd take a chance on Renfro over Michael Thomas or Tony.
Kevin, as somebody who has a bit more a perspective or less bias than myself and Twist, what's your take on the Steelers quarterback situation? Are you thinking Russell Wilson's job for the year, or eventually they're going to put Justin Fields in there?
It really depends. Like I was thinking about this earlier, and with Russell Wilson, it's one of those things. Like if he goes in and he just plays ball and he just like does the things that he used to do really well, then it could be a great season. It could be a season that you guys look back on and be like, "Whoa, that actually went a lot better than we expected." But if he goes in with the same kind of mentality, went into Denver where he was kind of above everyone else and kind of was like, "I'm the god here," like you kind of play my whistle kind of thing. Like he needs to kind of come, and I think that might play a little bit into why Justin Fields has a better relationship with the receiving team. It's just that he kind of is just more personable as a person. Maybe he's gone in there a bit more humbled after his experience in Chicago. It's hard to know, but me personally, I would have always liked to see Justin Fields get it over Russell Wilson. I just think everything that's gone on with Russell Wilson in the past 2, 3, 4 seasons, just his decline has been off the charts, really.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're just like, at what point do you stop giving him a chance? You know?
Yeah, he really went off a cliff in the last couple of seasons with the Seahawks, and then he did what he did in Denver. Like it's just so weird seeing him in a Steelers uniform. I don't think I'll ever get used to that, but I don't think we're going to have to get used to that because I don't think he's going to be around after the season. I literally think
he's basically on loan from the Broncos. They're paying his salary. They're paying him to play for the Steelers for 1 year.
He's a stopgap. He's a stopgap quarterback. Hopefully Justin Fields can learn something from him and go into that starting role for a couple of years until a college quarterback comes along who's worthwhile drafting, and that could be 3 or 4 years. Speaking of difficult quarterback situations, Kev, you must have been gutted about JJ McCarthy and his poor meniscus, and now you're stuck with Sam Darnold as your starter, I think, are you?
Yeah. I mean, look, you say stuck, right? And I think that this has been a conversation around the Vikings since that JJ incident. It's just like he was still not going to start, right? Like it still doesn't change the outlook of our first 4 games, right? We were still always going to start Darnold. That was always the intention, even though it wasn't verbalized. That was he was always getting first team reps, all of that stuff. So it doesn't change a lot. Obviously for JJ McCarthy and for the fan base, it's terrible. You've just drafted what you would hope is the quarterback of the future, and then for him to do that. But you could look at anything, blessing in disguise. You never know. Like it could be just exactly what Sam Darnold needs, is just to take that pressure off him. Now he knows, like, I am the starter. I am going to play for the season, and barring another like really, really like terrible first 6 games, he's probably going to play the whole season. So you kind of got to take the good with the bad on this one and just ride with Sam Darnold. I just don't want to go through another season like last year where every week we didn't know who was the starting quarterback. It doesn't help you buy into the team at all. It doesn't help you like want to see them succeed because you're like, just figure it out. Just get something on the board and start rolling with it. So
This will be Sam Darnold's third team in his NFL career, obviously drafted by the Jets. And then he went to the Niners, and now he's up in Minnesota. Do you think Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell gives him the best chance to develop into a full-time starter and kind of fulfill the potential we saw from him at USC?
yeah, I definitely think so. I think just the relationship that he's still a young guy, right? He's still what, 26?
Mm-hmm.
He's not very old, right? And so that relationship that him and O'Connell could have built over the past 6-8 months, it's fantastic. He's going to be ready to rip once, like in O'Connell's offense, which by all means is like it's a pretty hard one to pick up. And it's like he's had the time now to put the reps in to get things together, and I am really excited to see how they all click and how it goes with Justin Jefferson, because he's been looking just really energetic, really positive in all of like the preseason, any sort of clips that are going up on YouTube. He's looking real good, so really excited about that.
Vikings' first game of the season is against the New York Giants. Kev, how are you feeling about that one? First game of the season. What kind of stands
Yeah,
out
again,
to
it's gonna be a rocky one. I think just like I said earlier, is like even with the Chiefs and the Ravens, it's the first game of the year. A lot of the team won't have had any real like competitive reps together yet. So just until you get over that first kind of quarter of football, it's going to be pretty rocky stuff, I think. I just hope that, like that I said, I think that if Darnold can get into a good rhythm with the offense, and I think just seeing the way if Flores' defense do get a chance to get on there just to see how aggressive they're going to be this year, adding like the edge rushers there as well, like Dallas Turner, that's going to be exciting. He's been looking good all preseason. So I think overall I'm really excited for that game. I think that the Giants don't hold too much of a threat right now. Just
no.
even with adding neighbors there, you're just like, I just don't see how Daniel Jones is going to pull it out for them. I just don't, like, unless we're missing something and something's been happening behind the scenes where he's just going to blast onto the scene this year. I don't see them being a big threat, but we've also been beaten by the Giants in a playoff game, so we can't really say a lot. So.
But Twist, apart from neighbors, I mean, and I haven't been paying attention to the Giants because it's the Giants and it's Daniel Jones. I mean, there's no real offensive weapons there apart from the rookie, is there?
Off the top of my head, the only name I can think of is Neighbors. They lost Saquon to the
Eagles.
So they're going to have to do something special. They can't put the game on Daniel Jones' shoulders. He's a terrible quarterback. I don't care what anyone says. Otherwise, he is a terrible quarterback. His agent should go in the Hall of Fame for securing the biggest contract, for a mediocre quarterback ever in the history of the NFL. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to see all that contract. I have a feeling the Giants will end up parting ways before that contract's played out. But I think, like, Turner for the Vikings, he's going to ruin Daniel Jones's first competitive game back. Like, I have a feeling Flores' defense is just going to have the fans in New York chanting for Tommy DeVito by halftime on week 1.
Well, look, there's a lot of, I suppose, storylines to watch out for no matter who you support. One of the recent storylines that has held Irish NFL fans and indeed UK NFL fans' attention is the re-signing of Charlie Smith, Jude McAtamney, and Lewis Rees-Zammit to their respective practice squads. We were all frantically refreshing our phones around 5:00 on Wednesday afternoon, waiting to see where the lads would end up. I'm personally surprised that Charlie Smith even cleared waivers, to be honest with you. I was fully anticipating Green Bay draft or picking him up, but he's back with the Saints on their practice squad. And Kevin, it's probably the best case scenario for him because now he the pressure's off. I mean, despite he had a fantastic performance during the off season, during the preseason, like some pressure kicks and that game winner against the Cardinals in particular. But now he's able to sit, he's able to learn, and it doesn't count against the Saints practice squad limit.
Yeah, no, I think it's best case scenario for him. Like you said, I think just being back in a familiar setting, like obviously it would have been fantastic if he did get picked up by another team, but it's nice to now just be back in the same system, back with the same coaches, back in the same locker room, same staff. I think just for him, like for a newer player coming into the league, you probably don't need all of that extra stress of like having to like go and move to a new place now and relearn everything that you've learned. But like now there's extra stuff that you have to learn. So I think especially for the two lads, two kickers, obviously going back to where they were at, it's good for them. Lewis Rees-Zammit going to the Jags, I believe, right? He's got picked up there. So
as a receiver, not a running back, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think again, I think I mentioned it to you that Mahomes was making some comment about him, and I don't know if like again, I think just as we were saying earlier, Mahomes just has this superstar power right now, where it's like even anything he says kind of would bring somebody's stock up. And he made some good comments about Lewis Rees-Zammit, about his hands, about his ball security, the speed. Obviously somebody must have taken notice. So. Yeah, excited again. I think just the more visibility these international boys have, especially for our side of things, the Irish and the UK, is like the better it is for the sport in general. Obviously we've seen it last weekend with the amount of lads that actually like people that are out enjoying American football in Ireland and England. It's fantastic. So, the more exposure them guys can get, the better it's going to be for the sport in Ireland and England long term.
And you also made the point before we came on, Kev, that a little part of you is suspicious about the Jaguars' motivations for picking up Reese Lightning, given the fact that they have several games in London this year, and there might be a little bit of a marketing ploy behind that in terms of being able to wheel him out if necessary, or even have him on the sidelines in pads.
Well, I thought the same thing about the Chiefs though when they first brought him over. I thought that was a marketing ploy. Obviously the Chiefs being as big as they were. You've just won 2 Super Bowls. It's like, are you trying to go to Chicago Bulls kind of like level of recognition where it's like, I'd say most people don't know who the Bulls are, but they know what the logo is.
Yeah.
Because of the Jordan era, like all of that happened there. It's like, is that what the Chiefs are now trying to do by trying to get a foot place in other cultures, in English culture and German culture? And so I genuinely did believe at the start it was kind of more of a media grab than anything. But I don't blame them. Ultimately, it's if you can bring an extra 100,000 people supporting your franchise, that's going to be good business for you. So you can't blame somebody for doing it. And if it gives an Irish or an English lad some exposure and some opportunity to break into the NFL, hey, you've got to take it with both hands.
Well, the Chiefs really don't need any help. They've got Taylor Swift. So.
Apparently she's drawing up plays now. I saw on Twitter just before we jumped on there.
We should just have a little ticker. How many episodes can we go through without saying Taylor Swift's name? Or sorry, how many episodes can we go through without Twist saying Taylor Swift's name?
Hey, I had to be fair, have to annoy NFL fans by mentioning it. It should be on screen for 3 seconds and the game will be ruined.
But no, I mean, I think in the case of Charlie Smith, I was surprised more so because Blake Grupe isn't exactly the best kicker in the world. And I think the only kind of potential reason why Charlie did not get the nod is just experience. It's pure experience in the fact that Blake Grupe came through the college system. He played at Notre Dame most recently. And I think with a couple of more years, maybe even one full season on the practice squad, it's Charlie's job in the Saints. And it really seems like the team have rallied around him. And he's become part of the organization there. So there's no doubt in my mind that he ends up as a starting NFL kicker within the next 1 to 2 years.
I'd be surprised if Grupe survives the season with the Saints. The only inexperience I've seen from the footage from Charlie during the preseason was kicking the ball out of the end zone during the new kickoff rule. That was the only mistake I've seen him make. He's been booming kicks. He's been in practice. He kicked that 65 yards field goal, which had 5 extra yards on it afterwards, which was 70 yards. And the amount of games the Saints could have won last season with a leg like that were decided by 3 points or less on a 50-plus yard field goal, and Charlie's out there kicking them like it's normal. If Groupie doesn't perform this season, or if he misses
or he gets injured,
he gets injured, or even if he misses a couple of game winners, especially divisional, game winners in that division, because it's so sporadic who can win it and who can walk away with it. I could see him being benched and Charlie getting the call up. Like, I wouldn't even give it a year. I'd say less than a year.
Kevin, any final thoughts on our UK and Irish contingent before we wrap things up?
No, like I said, I think just the more, I think obviously last weekend, I go back to that again, just seeing the amount of people out was fantastic. And I think just, for us, obviously it's exciting in a kind of a vacuum to see the boys doing well over in the NFL. But I think just on a larger scale, I think the more young people that do see lads like Charlie, like Jude, like Lewis Reed Zammit going over and chancing it, taking an opportunity that, wasn't available 5, 10, 15 years ago. The more that we see that, the more exposure that comes to it, it's going to benefit us, it's going to benefit the sport, it's going to benefit NFL in Ireland. And ultimately, it makes everyone's life just that little bit better. I think just seeing these lads from small towns, from communities that care, I think that's going to be huge going forward for the Irish in the NFL, is kind of bringing them roots, because obviously the Americans love their Irish roots, and so it's by bringing that kind of attitude or that kind of optics to it, I think that it's going to be a huge couple of years for Irish NFL.
I think the amount of media attention that has been garnered in the past couple of weeks alone, with speculation around where the lads would end up, I mean, it's going next level every time there's any sort of mention about it. Now, obviously, it'll calm down a little bit during the season with them all being on the practice squad. But I think now, I mean, I was even listening to the radio there last weekend on the Sunday morning after the college game, and they were talking about it on RTE Radio 1 and how beneficial it is to the whole country, these sort of games. So it's great to see that this sport is finally getting mainstream media coverage on a regular basis, and not just because of Travis Kelce's girlfriend, whose name we're not going to say again because she's already got enough airtime on this episode. Lads, look, I think we've covered a lot there. We're going to try and get back on a weekly basis throughout the NFL season on a Monday or potentially later in the week to give our thoughts on the week just gone and preview the coming week's games. We'll mix in a bit of college football as well. But now, lads, for now, get some rest and we'll talk soon.